y'all. I am Misty Perry, and we are going to do positive and negative integers. I'm going to add a little smidge of absolute value on the end because it kind of fits. So, for the most part, if you have the same sign on both sides of your operation, it is going to be positive. So, a positive plus a positive is going to be a positive. Positive times positive will be a positive. Negative times a negative, see they're negative but they're the same, will be a positive. A positive divided by a positive, a negative divided by a negative. So all of these, just remember, if it is the same sign on both sides, it's going to be positive. The only weird thing about that rule is this one right here, a negative and a negative is going to be a negative. So, for example, this would be minus 3 and a minus 3. It's going to be a minus 6. That is the only one that ends up with a minus. Everything else, if you have the same on both sides, will come out positive. So, subtraction is a special little beast over here. If you have a positive minus a positive, it's just going to be a subtraction problem, right? Like 8 minus 5 is 3. But what if I have 4 minus 9? I get a negative. So what you have to do with these is you have to subtract them and then give it the sign of the biggest number. So in this one, your 8 is the biggest number. 8 is positive, so your answer is positive. On this one, your biggest number is the 9. 9 is negative, so your answer is going to be negative. So you still subtract them, you just have to figure out if it's going to be positive or negative. When you have this, minus a negative, I always, through all of my math classes, when I see minus a negative, I just go like this, plus, add it. If you see minus a negative, plus, add it. Because this minus on the number line says go opposite direction of negative, which is add. The opposite of negative is add. So basically this says do the opposite of a negative. So that's why I just go, I do that so I don't forget. 8 plus 6 is 14. So if the negative is first, that doesn't work. Because this is basically the same as this one. You end up with a minus a number. So if I have a minus 12, minus 2, that's minus 14. So this one right here is the same as this little guy over here. Down here though, we have minus a negative. If it's in the last two positions, minus a negative, make them plus. So minus 4 plus 2 is going to be a minus 2 because the 4 is bigger than the 2. You come out minus. Okay? So there are some tricky, not really tricky. This is really, I think, the trickiest part is figuring out with addition and subtraction the plus and minus, or the subtraction. Addition's easy. Whatever sign it is, if they're the same, it's pretty easy. Subtraction is tricky, especially this minus a negative. Multiply and divide, basically, if they have the same signs, right here, here's multiply. If they have the same signs, multiply, 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 or these are divide. If they have the same signs, they will be positive. But if you have a different sign, this is going to be negative. That will be negative. So, on your multiply and divide here, okay, on your multiply and divide, if the signs are the same, it will always be positive no matter what the sign is, if they are the same. If they are different, it's going to be negative no matter what the sign is. It will be negative. Same sign, positive. Different sign, negative. Always. Okay, the only weird thing is that little subtraction thing we did in the middle. Okay, if the bigger number is a positive when you subtract, your answer will be positive. If your bigger number is a negative when you subtract, your answer will be negative. If you have minus a negative, change that to plus. Other than that, it's pretty simple. So now a little tiny absolute value thing, because I noticed some absolute value in with some of these things. Absolute value, all it means is distance from 0. So if I have a number line and I have 2 spaces here, right? This is 0, 2 spaces here. This is positive 2. This is negative 2. Absolute value of 2 is written like that. That just means how far is it from 0? The positive 2 is 2 spaces from 0. The negative 2 is 2 spaces from 0. So it doesn't matter which way it goes, it's always going to be a positive number. That confuses sometimes. So what you have to do is just ignore the negative on this side. How far is it? 1, 2. If I go all the way to minus 27, right? And I want the absolute value of minus 27. All I'm going to do is take off that minus. If it's already has no minus, that's the absolute value of 2. Okay? Anytime it says absolute value, whatever, if you have a minus inside with it, just take out the minus. If it already has no minus, you'll leave it alone. Okay? So it would look like this. The absolute value of minus 2 equals 2. If it asks you like that. So that's quick absolute value. Just take off the negative. And that's all for this one. See you next time.